All right, so I have to make a follow-up video explaining my allocation for 2015 with these brokers because there's a lot of confusion, and that's fine. I'm sorry that I wasn't more detailed. Um, I am trading with a very small portion of my net worth, my cash, everything. Actually, less than 1%. And I'm doing this so that you understand how to grow a small account. In my first week with this $100,000, I made roughly $7,600. So roughly an 8% gain in the first week. If you can make 8% every single week, you're going to be a pretty rich person no matter what you start out with. I had some good trades, I had some bad trades, but the key was having shares to short. And that is why I have several brokers. So if you can afford to have all of these brokers, I would have an account with all of these brokers. If you can't afford all these brokers, then you have to pick and choose what is best for you. Okay? I can just show you my own thoughts, my own brokers. I don't know what's best for you because frankly, I don't know who you are. You know, I teach a lot of people on the internet, and you can be whoever you want, and that's fine. Everyone has different strengths and weaknesses, and you have to look at those. So if you have $40,000 or $30,000 minimum, which is what my high net worth broker requires, I would definitely go with my high net worth broker. Okay? They have the best borrows, the best customer service, the best executions. They're the best broker, frankly, that I've ever worked with. Unfortunately, their minimum is $30,000. That is a strict minimum. I don't set the rules. I have begged to them. I have gotten down on my hands and knees. I'm like, please lower your minimums. Part of the reason why they're so good is because they don't want to work with people that have the smallest accounts. Because if you do that, frankly, you're not going to be a very good customer. You're not going to pay a lot in commissions. You're going to whine a lot. This is just how the world works. So their minimum is $30,000. I don't say their name publicly because I don't want them to be overrun by people, which I've done, unfortunately, with brokers in the past. So email admin@timothysykes.com for an intro if you have $30,000 or more. Also, I have an account with E-Trade. E-Trade is my new broker for 2015. You know, they're relatively cheap. I mean, I use E-Trade Pro software. I've used that software for over a decade, even when I didn't use the broker. But I'm only opening an account with them because they have shares to short of NASDAQ names like CUBA, ZAZA, FXCM, and ADXS. You know, stocks that are trading between $3 and $10, $3 and $15. That's what they specialize in. So all of those stocks that I just mentioned have dropped 50% off of their highs for various reasons. And unfortunately, most brokers don't have shares to short. So E-Trade does. You need to fill out that form. It's a hard to borrow form. I explained in the last video. If you just call up E-Trade or you know, do a search on their website and you search for the hard to borrow securities form, you fill it out, and then you're open to getting hard to borrow stocks. You still have to pay fees. But again, if you can find a stock that drops 20, 30, 40, 50%, the fees are negligible. Interactive brokers, I want an account there. I have very specific dollar amounts for specific reasons. E-Trade, I put in 30,000 because I don't want to have to deal with the pattern day trader rule. I don't even want to have to worry about it. So 30,000, you know, puts me above that limit. It gives me a nice little $5,000, you know, barrier just in case I have to take a loss. But that allows me to trade more than 3 times per 5 rolling day period. I understand the pattern day trader rule is a big problem for people who have less than $25,000. And that is why SureTrader is on my list, okay? If you want to not have to be limited by how many day trades you can do, this is the one perhaps biggest benefit of SureTrader. That is why I continue to have an account with SureTrader. But I have minimized my account with SureTrader. I have taken out 90% of the money that I previously had, frankly, because they have the worst executions, the worst customer service, the worst software. I've shorted there and I've gotten bought in on the same day. That's not acceptable. So I really cannot, in good faith, put a lot of money with SureTrader when I can afford not to. If I only had $5,000 to my name, I probably would only have an account with SureTrader just because of the PDT rule. But, you know, if I could afford it, which I can, frankly, I'm very fortunate, I have accounts with multiple brokers. So this is why I have 30,000 in E-Trade, to give me a barrier so that just in case, I don't want to day trade more than 3 times per 5 rolling day period, but sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes it's necessary to take a loss. Sometimes it's necessary to go in and out in the same day and take a profit. Sometimes I'm just over trading, and that happens sometimes, like I did this past week on GENE. 25,000 at Interactive Brokers. So I did this very specifically. I didn't put like 27,500 in E-Trade and 27,500 in Interactive Brokers, where that would have given me, you know, a nice barrier above the 25,000 in each account. I did it this way because E-Trade is new, and I'm still not used to, you know, actually executing orders. I didn't trade at all this week from E-Trade. And I'm very used to executing orders from Interactive Brokers Web Trader. I use the Web Trader platform. I use the cheapest, shittiest platform that they have just because, you know, I'm used to it and I make money from it. So you don't change a system that's not, you know, broken. But I put myself right into the barrier of 25,000 because I'm used to the software and I know that I could grow my account. And that's exactly what I did. Most of my gains this week were in Interactive Brokers. And I think I have to look, but I think my Interactive Brokers account is now bigger than E-Trade. So I don't have to worry about the pattern day trader rule for either E-Trade or Interactive Brokers anymore. This is also one of the benefits of having multiple brokers. You know, even if you had 3 brokerage accounts of $5,000 each, then you get 3 day trades, you know, per 5 rolling day period in each broker. So you have basically 9 day trades, which is more than enough day trades than you should ever need in a week, because the pattern day trader rule only limits you per account, not, you know, for you as a person. So again, let me just repeat. I know this is confusing. I wish it were easy where I could just say, here's the broker, set up a margin account, done. I have a margin account with all of these. You need a margin account to short sell. I do short sell every now and then. You know, stocks under $2 a share, I'm mainly going to use Interactive Brokers or my high net worth broker. I shorted CLRX. Was that the ticker? CLRX or CLX? CLRX, yeah. I shorted this one unsuccessfully, as it turned out. I made like 3 cents a share. I was going for a big panic. Trying to short this, Interactive Brokers had shares to short. You know, so under let me write this down. Shorting under $2 a share. Shorting $3 to $10 a share. Avoiding PDT rule. The best out there. So this is how I would describe each of these brokers. My high net worth broker is all encompassing. They're good for shorting stocks 3 to 10, shorting stocks, you know, under $2 a share. E-Trade specifically is good for shorting $3 to $10 a share, maybe even $3 to $15 a share. Interactive Brokers is best for shorting stocks under $2 a share with commissions and fees and availability. SureTrader is the best for avoiding the PDT rule. SureTrader also does have some shares to short. I guess I'll put this one. They don't usually have stocks under $2 a share, but they do have stocks in the $3 to $15 share range every now and then. So these are my 4 brokers, okay? This is how I allocate. You have to choose. Do you like shorting stocks under $2 a share? It's usually pretty high odds of success, but it's scary as shit. Sometimes these stocks just keep going up. Interactive Brokers, you know, I think their customer service is terrible. They don't care about me. They focus mainly on hedge funds, but you know, I still use them because frankly, I'm used to their setup, and they have borrows, and their commissions aren't that bad. E-Trade, we'll see how it goes. This is my new broker. You know, so far in the past few weeks, they've had a lot of hard to borrow stocks. and I was not prepared. I did not have an account open there yet. So now I have an account there. And again, when you have accounts with these guys, you can't expect them to have shares to short. But hopefully they do. And you just give yourself better odds of finding shares to short by having these brokers. You can use whatever broker you want, but when you're shorting, a lot of brokers just are not specific or specialized for short sellers. So I can't use those other brokers. If you only want to focus on buying, then use whatever broker you want. But for me, a lot of my plays are shorts, and shorting pump and dump, shorting outright scams, it's the most logical, most reliable pattern that I know. And the biggest problem is finding shares to short. So that's why I use these brokers. So I wouldn't necessarily close an account out at any broker at any time if you don't have to, just because it's a pain in the ass to fund it and fill out all the paperwork again. So, I still have an account at SureTrader. I know some people are freaking out, but I'm frankly just in a good enough place where I don't need them. They're kind of like the dumpster broker. I would call them, dumpsterstocks.com. Because they're just, I can't even get into the issues. There's so many issues. And because they're offshore, there is added risk. You have to consult your own financial advisor, your own accountant to see if it's, right for you. They're not even supposed to be tailored to U.S. citizens. So you have to ask your own planners if this broker is right for you. I should also mention, Interactive Brokers, I think they're good for international customers. E-Trade, I think, is mainly U.S., and then my high net worth broker is U.S. So there's some restrictions there too. The broker field is not a perfect world. If it was, then it wouldn't matter where you live. It wouldn't matter what kind of stock you're trying to short. But unfortunately, that's the real world. So I'm trying to give you the pros and the cons as I see it. I know some of you guys who live in the U.S. and you're like, oh, I can't use this broker. And some people who don't live in the U.S. are like, I want to use this one. I don't make the rules, okay? So don't come whining to me if this broker doesn't allow your country. I can't help that. I can't change that. I don't own any of these brokerages, okay? I'm just a customer with these brokers, and I tell you what I use. And I have consulted my own financial advisors, my own accountants. All of these brokers are right for me. That does not necessarily mean they are right for you. I can only lay out what I use and how I use them. So these are my brokers for 2015. In the first week, I am up $7,600, roughly 8% gain. Fantastic week, as it turned out. I started off slow. I almost had a big mistake, taking too big of a position. I'm not used to trading with such a small account, but I closed the week strong, and I followed the rules in my DVDs. And I'm so proud of so many Trading Challenge students. You had such a freaking strong week. I got to give props real quick to Kyle with only $3,000 worth, made $800 on CURM. Mike made $650 on CURM. I'm Screed was long at 108 and out at 142 in a day. And then Latrell made $1,900 profit on a 10K investment. Then Kane said, Tim Alerts was the best thing I've ever done to improve my trading. I've been investing full-time for about a year, and I've learned by throwing money away that many pickers and so-called experts really fluff or pump up their returns and successes. When you make a mistake, you admit it. I really enjoy your commentary on what you're doing and why. I also want to thank you, since I found I have made by far the greatest and fastest gains of my trading career. Let me just make this big right here. This is what I live for. Okay? When I make money trading, that's fantastic. But when someone says this, I want to thank you. Since I found you, I have made by far the greatest and fastest gains of my trading career. That makes me feel all warm and cuddly inside. I love that. I don't just trade for profits, okay? If I was trading for profits, I would have $10 million in my account and probably make 3 or 4, maybe 5 million a year in trading. And I wouldn't be able to teach because I would be exhausted and stressed out from taking such big positions like most big-time penny stock traders are. But I like teaching. So I trade with a smaller account because I want more of this. This is what really gets me. Whether I make, last year I still had a record year trading. I made nearly $1 million in 2014, which was fantastic. But all of this, I want you guys to get pumped, and I want you guys to get motivated, and I want to try and help you and be the mentor to you that I never had. Thank you guys. See ya.